Let's do dural torque. The spinal cord is surrounded by three meninges. Dural torque occurs when there's a kink in one of those meninges that surround the spinal cord. If there was a kink in my rubber band and I pulled the rubber band tighter, I would make the kink worse. So the way to fix the kink is take the slack, put slack into the spinal cord. That gets rid of the kink. And so that's what the dural torque correction is all about. You heard about people who are lost and they go walking, trying to find their way out of the wilderness, wherever they're lost at. And a couple hours later, or a couple of days later, they realize that they're back to the same spot they started at. You heard stories about that? Ever heard it? Why does that happen? Because one leg is shorter than the other leg. And that little bit of difference when you're walking for a long, long distance makes you veer to the left or veer to the right. If you walk like that continuously, you will eventually end up back where you started from. And for that to happen to you is very devastating. You did all this walking, now you're right back where you started from. That's a symptom of having dural torque. So we got a test for it, and we got a correction for it. So who wants to get checked for dural torque? Okay, if there's a kink in the spinal cord, as often is the case in kinesiology, to find it, you exaggerate it. So if there's a kink between here and here, I can find it by exaggerating it like this. What I did is I made the spinal cord longer. So if I made it longer, it's the same thing as the rubber band that has a kink in it. When I stretch it, I exaggerate it. Okay? So that's the indicator. Your test muscle blows out when you elongate the spinal cord. I could stretch it this way, I could stretch it this way. So that's how you prove that he has it. And then the correction is you need to put some slack into the spinal cord. So what we're going to do, we're going to contact the sacrum, we're going to contact the occiput. Now I'm going to push the two of them together as he breathes in. So every time I do this, breathe in. Ready? See, I'm pushing the two together. That puts slack in the meninges of the spinal cord. A common problem is there's a blockage in the cerebral spinal fluid that goes up and down the spine, and the body tries to correct the poor circulation in the cerebral spinal cord by increasing the blood pressure. And as soon as you take the kinks out of the spinal cord, now the cerebrospinal fluid flows freely. The body no longer has to raise the blood pressure to try to get the cerebrospinal fluid move smoothly. So it's a great treatment for high blood pressure. Well, let me reword that. It's something that you should check in the patient who has high blood pressure to see if this might be one of the causes that they have a dural torque. So now you want to see, did you do any good or not? You repeat your original test, which is now gone. Now when you lengthen the spinal cord, it no longer blows out of your indicator muscle. So that's how you know you successfully fixed it. Okay. Any questions on how we did that?
Just relax a lot more.
He said that when I did the correction, he could feel his body relax. She's asking me, are there any indications for dural torque other than high blood pressure? Headaches, cerebrospinal fluid not flowing properly is a common contributing factor to the headaches. And then if they get lost and end up back where they started, that's an indication. Oh, a person falls a lot, yeah, that could be a contributing factor. One more piece of the jigsaw puzzle to be able to find that and fix it. Shortcuts for high blood pressure. Second brain. The body could raise the blood pressure trying to compensate for the heart valves not being synchronized. The Glabella Fault. The Glabella Fault is so good for blood pressure. You can do the Glabella Fault even if the TMJ doesn't show. If you pump the glabella like this, you can usually lower blood pressure just by doing that. If you press on the carotid artery, you get a pulse. That's how you know you're on it. And then the other hand presses on the eyelids. That will lower blood pressure. You press hard on the carotid arteries, but you press lightly on the eyelids. Hold that for 30 seconds, and then reverse it. You don't want to press both carotid arteries at the same time. Get your fingers on the other one and press on the eyelids again. And I probably have never had that fail, that it wouldn't lower blood pressure. Doesn't mean it goes back to 120 or 80, but it definitely lowers it. Never had it fail, it wouldn't lower it. Glabella, Dural Torque, second brain. Those are all things that help lower blood pressure. Glabella, 30 seconds on each side. 30 seconds here, 30 seconds here. I showed this last year. There's a test if the patient has normal blood pressure or not. Well, let me define the word normal. See, the body didn't read the book, so the body doesn't know it's supposed to be 120 or 80. So there's a test to see if the blood pressure is normal or not. You put one hand over the top of the dorsal spine, and you put the other hand on top of the heart. If that double TL stays strong, that means the blood pressure is acceptable to the body. And what the body likes, it likes a 1-2-3 ratio between systolic, diastolic, and pulse pressure. If you subtract diastolic from systolic, that gives you your pulse pressure. So if you subtract 80 diastolic from the 120 systolic, you get 40 as a pulse pressure. And what you're looking for is a 1-2-3 ratio. 2 times 40 is 80, 3 times 40 is 120. That's the perfect ratio for blood pressure. So you don't want the two numbers to get too close together, because the blood pressure has to get up to the lower number before the valve even opens. If the blood pressure is too close together, then there's not much pressure left to move the blood through the body. So what I just said is 150 over 100 is not that bad. 150 over 100 is still the 1-2-3 ratio. The 1-2-3 ratio, does that fit everybody? The answer is yes. Ideal blood pressure is 120 over 80. That's idealistic. What's more realistic is 100 plus your age. 100 plus your age for systolic is probably not too bad a blood pressure. We all know cases of people who had high blood pressure all their lives, never had a stroke or heart attack. Other people have perfect blood pressure, perfect cholesterol, and they still have a stroke.